phone, so I was finally able to go see Inside. This movie is rated R, about an hour and 45 minutes long, directed by Vasilius Kastopis. I really hope I pronounced that right, and it stars Willem Dafoe. So I was waiting a little while to see this one. I wasn't playing in my city for a little while, so I was finally able to go see it. And yes, without further ado, let me get into my review for Willem Dafoe's latest movie, Inside. So the description of this movie is that Nemo, played by Willem Dafoe, a high-end art thief, is trapped in a New York penthouse after his heist doesn't go as planned. Locked inside with nothing but priceless works of art, he must use all of his cunning and invention to survive. So, of course, within this penthouse, there is very limited food, there's very limited sources of water. It basically seems like the kind of place that a very rich person would only stay at to sleep, sort of thing. Even though there are priceless artifacts with inside the house, there is nothing in means of survival. So Nemo has to make his own means of survival, whether that be tapping into the irrigation system within the apartments, making certain that the damaged thermostats, it doesn't get too cold or too hot to the point where he's not able to function due to the heat or the colds within the apartment. Again, to finding the food source, the water source of entertainment, and of course a way out of the apartments. And a lot of what this movie kind of taps into, even though it is a survival film for the most, it does try to do some elements of horror within it. It's just, of course, he gets trapped in his mind and trapped in his own world, which I'll get into a little bit about what I think the meaning of this movie is. But I found the horror elements didn't work too much, mostly just because they're very jump scare tactic in terms of what they try to pull off. So a lot of the horror elements that I found within this movie and getting trapped in his head, I found were just if it wasn't Willem Dafoe kind of making this performance, even though he's really good in it, I found that's just there's not a lot of dialogue, but the dialogue within it isn't enough to really capture any sense of fear or horror a lot of the time. At least not the type of horror that I think they thought. Just again, to being trapped in one's mind, that type of horror just never really felt too captured to me. So what I think a lot of what this movie is that how much art can consume someone and segregate them from the world outside. They get so lost within the arts or without themselves that only they can understand and appreciate the art that they create, or the art that they're lost by, in a way that just no one else can understand. And that's kind of the metaphor of being within the penthouse, and a lot of the pictures that you see within the penthouse of this man that he's in. And even though that's never really clearly stated, there's a lot of allegories that are thrown into this movie that seem to always keep relating to that concept of being trapped within one's art, and again, to just completely segregating yourself from the world, but then feeling isolated within it, always wanting to escape that art and get outside. But in order to do that, you have to kind of kill that part of yourself, remove that part of yourself, and that can be a very, again, isolating it within itself and very hard process that we do see the character Nemo go through. So again, too, even though I found that the storytelling never was truly clear on that fact, I do think that that is the main point of this movie, and it's showcased within, again, too, just the pacing of this movie, which is okay for the most part, but this movie does feel very bland, very hollow in a lot of ways, and it's really slow, so it can get very boring at times. I never really had the urge feeling like I wanted to fall asleep, but I had the urge of just wanting to look at other things to distract myself, waiting for something to happen on the screen, because it's very slow, and again, so it's very hollow in terms of its messaging, and it's not really clear a lot of the ways unless you're fully paying attention to the movie. But even in that case, I think a lot of it is kind of left up to interpretation, or it relies on the audience knowing exactly what this art is supposed to symbolize, or knowing the art before the movie. So again, too, it's all right, and if you're a fan of Willem Dafoe, I feel like this is one that might be up your alley. But with everything taken together, I'm gonna have to give Inside a 5 out of 10. Again, too, if I interpret it right, I think I really enjoy the, again, messaging of this movie, but I found that it's just very hollow, very boring. Definitely something I wouldn't watch again, and not really something that I could really recommend to a lot of people. Even though I like the premise of it, I feel like it's going to be very, very slow for a lot of people, very, very hollow. And even though Willem Dafoe's performance in it is really, really like it's really good. I just found that the rest of it is too hollow, really, to capture any sense of attention or wants to dive more into this movie again and again to find its messaging or just to rewatch it. So if you've seen Inside, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. And of course, if you like this review, definitely give it a thumbs up, and you can check out everything I do on this channel through a playlist down below, and I'll link them up top here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing, and turn that little ringer on so you know when I upload new videos. If you don't check out the description of this video on my channel bio, there's a link to the Media Mountain, which is my Discord, where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, pretty much everything that's awesome and somewhere else. So you can definitely join that amazing community. I'll make it even more amazing than it is already. And yeah, just awesome, guys.